All right, Brian, can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Now, once Brandon gets in and Tom,
I'm back.
Brandon, all right, you can finish your story. Y'all
Oh
drop
yeah,
Facebook.
we Phil Martin had put out that like streaming guidelines thing because a lot of people were asking him when COVID started, and the
Mm-hmm.
rule of thumb was you want to be streaming to two destinations so you have a backup. But we just found that Facebook kept changing the setup and the options, and we were getting clogged down. We just decided no, we're not doing Facebook anymore. And so we just stream exclusively through YouTube. And the big benefit has been is all of our shut-ins who are technologically challenged, um, they've gotten it all set up where they know if they just click their Internet Explorer, like YouTube is bookmarked, and they click on it, and it's right there in the stream, and it's simple for them. So, uh, and it saved us a few times because we have that archive of all the live feeds.
Mm-hmm.
So the few days where the audio didn't record, we can rip audio from that and upload it. So, um, and it saved me a few times because I don't even remember what it was, but somebody had misheard. I said something about one of the former members that they were sick or something. And so I was able to go back over the sermon, re-listen to it. The elders listened to it, and they're like, "No, he didn't say anything close to that." So, um, it it's nice having the archive.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you're right. Facebook did make several changes to how we scheduled it. Now you have to schedule events out in Facebook, and so we've got one member who's done it for several months out for us, and now he's moved away because he got married. So I'll need to kind of take over that. But on the other side, the flip side of the coin, we have a lot of members who watch it through Facebook. They because of the social media aspect, that's how they get their
Yeah,
notifications that we've gone live and stuff like that. The That's where I like vMix. It gives you a little more hands-on approach. You can do multiple
yeah.
streams, but if you're not quite technically inclined, then it's a little more complicated. I felt sorry for a lot of preachers, and I wish I could have been of more help to them
Oh,
because we had been live streaming for a long time, and all of a sudden, I get people coming out of the woodwork who have not done one bit of streaming, wanting to know how to stream, and you're like, how
yeah,
do you help them? Simplest thing:
yeah.
put your webcam up, put your laptop and a webcam, and you know. But then, so you got so many preachers becoming TV evangelists because of the COVID.
And the thing is, I did my 2 years of that stuff, and the elders were very much like on board of we need to do this. And I'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about my point. It's like we knew going into this, like we need to maintain like avenues of connection and edification, even if it was not ideal. But basically, once we went to back all in person, which we always had at least one assembly in person because that was never an
Mm-hmm.
option of canceling that. But
Yeah.
all of us were kind of done at the 2 year mark. It's like, okay, I don't want to teach to a camera again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least the pre-recorded type stuff. We did a Zoom study of Acts and a Zoom new conference class, and that was fine. Um, but this the pre-recorded stuff. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I
We
want to go
never
back to that.
did any of the we never did any of the pre-recorded stuff except for like some videos for kids and stuff.
Yeah,
Everything we always did was just it was the live stream, but
Right. Well,
yeah,
I guess I don't. That's what I'm doing now is pre-record. I'm pre-recording my sermons online, and I put them. We have a YouTube page and a Facebook, and so I spend Saturday night loading those things up. But we don't do anything live. And again, we're not set up for it. We don't have the camera. Whenever I do a gospel meeting, even that's not streamed. It's just I do it, but it's terrible because I have one web camera, is all I use. And Brian can attest to our building. I mean, our ceiling is like 20 feet up. I mean, we don't even have an attached PowerPoint. I mean, I set my PowerPoint up every day, or every Sunday I set the PowerPoint up and it projects on a screen sideways and stuff like that. The wiring that would be involved.
Just all you got to do is spend a little bit of money, and what you do is buy you one of those moderately priced high-end drones that can float in one position in midair. That Wi-Fi streams the signal to your computer, and then you send it out that way.
All you've got to do.
John,
it's real simple.
Yeah.
Have you been talking to Mark Schatz? Because Mark Schatz suggested that to me yesterday. Oh, yeah, by the way, Paul,
The whole
one of Paul's
problem with
other
that-
elders is out here right now.
Yeah, and the whole problem with that is my sermon is 15 minutes, and whoever's controlling the drone.
Yeah.
After
No,
about
have it
40
automatic.
minutes-
Just
Yeah, after about 40 minutes, it let me know. Yeah,
Well,
all of a
if you
sudden
see it
your
start
Zoom-
dipping, like it's losing
Yeah.
power, then you know you've preached
Yeah.
too long.
yeah, that kind of a thing. But I mean, we got. We're just not set up technology.
No,
Technologically.
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. So.
But there have been a number of churches. I say a number. There have been several live streams that all it is someone setting their cell phone up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of awkward. And when I held a meeting out in Scottsboro, Alabama, I believe it was, their laptop was just set up there on the podium. And while you used that to look at your PowerPoint behind you, it was also live streaming to some of their shut-ins. And that's kind of an awkward,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
works.
It's funny. I went to lectures, FC lectures in last February now, and that pretty much everyone was talking about like how we all had to figure out streaming overnight, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so and some groups stayed with it, some groups didn't. That's fine. I think we all learned we're a little bit more flexible and adaptable than we thought we were. Because now it's like I'm very comfortable in front of a camera now, and with the Zoom and everything. So if we ever decide to where we need to do like a virtual evangelism thing, or just it made counseling a lot easier, or just one-on-one studies, because now I don't have to worry too much about like being quote alone in the same location as somebody.
Yeah.
Not that we've actually had to do any of that over Zoom or anything, but something completely random. I'm trying to remember, John, you normally put up the scriptures when we're reading them, right? From our translations.
Yeah.
So you have the New American Standard 95, right?
Probably. Let me see which
Right.
one. I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Is that maybe the closest to what I'm using now?
Yeah, John, I don't know what your plans are on Thursday, if you want to have any icebreakers, before we actually get into, lessons learned from the pandemic. A kind of a good icebreaker might be, what are you doing differently now as a congregation? What are you doing than what you were doing before? Like, for example, the things that I'd say we're doing different even now is, again, I'm pre-recording lessons. We now have a YouTube page.
I'd like to see.
Those are examples of some things that we are doing differently now than what we did, and that might be a good icebreaker. Before you actually get into the discussion of just thoughts, but I don't know how long that would take.
I would like to hear what changed in congregations, maybe.
Yeah.
So like us, the congregation we started with is gone. I mean, we you could make the case we lost a congregation, but maybe somebody says, hey, we saw membership decline. Brendan gave made the statement. And maybe just to say that without even a commentary, to say, our congregation pre-COVID, our congregation today.
And
it would be interesting, in part because one of the things I think I'd really like to know more about is what specifically happened to churches before and after. I want to know, churches, did it elderships, did they lose members, did they gain members? We had half of our membership move away, so somewhere there's a church that got bigger.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd like to know what happened. I have some guesses, but I'd like to know.
We kind of broke even between the few people that moved in and the ones who moved away, and the few baptisms we had. I would say, and I'm not going to say this publicly. It's a good
Hold
thing,
on just a moment. Hold on. Make sure I'm not streaming right now.
Get the recorder.
Hang on. Let me mute the primary audio real quick. And unmute this now. If you want to say something, you don't go out and say silence. So
I cannot believe what John just said.
Something you don't go out and say. Going into COVID, our attendance was about 120 on average. And so we did for about 5 weeks not have any services. Everything was live streamed. But then we got back to Sunday morning only. We had Bible class Sunday morning, live stream. They met for services. And then Sunday night, I did a live stream, and Wednesday night, a live stream. And then finally, far enough into it, we added the Bible classes back, Wednesday night back. And then just recently, as of this past Sunday, our Lord's Supper has returned to the normal distribution. We stayed on the single cups. Out of one, the bread, some bread were still concerned, but we're now using the little bitty individual bread pieces. But now, one change that we made is that we had actually I'm gonna mute for this. Y'all understand here in a minute why.
and to think that we fellowship, John.
Well, and John, to your point, I think one of the things that gave me a lot of comfort during COVID is what one of my elders said. And he said, I can argue against every single thing every congregation's doing right now, including ours.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me up at night. And so, like, I knew my elders they weren't taking this haphazardly. And it's, some of you are elders. And I can't imagine the weight you're under, like, balancing the spiritual health and the safety of the physical flock. And just, how do you do that? And, so, and like John had said, I remember the two changes we've kept is the collection is now in a basket. There's one in the back of the auditorium, one in the front. And so after announcements, we have after the opening prayer and scripture reading, we have a prayer of thanksgiving because we're not passing baskets. And then we've kept individual pieces of bread in communion cups that we pass. And this is kind of funny. I call them denominational pews. Because they have the little cup holders. And, pre-COVID, like, we're never going to use those. After COVID, the instructions now is you take your cup and you hold on to it and you just put it in there. And the kids go buck wild afterwards, picking up everything.
Not denominational pews. Church I grew up in had it, and it was fun as a kid to stick your finger in the holes and hope you didn't get them stuck.
And that is a change for us. Like I said, we're sitting every other row, but we do that for a couple of reasons. We have a Spanish congregation that meets at the building in the afternoon, and we alternate rows. So we get row 1, they get row 2. And so so we help you. And now with the Lord's Supper, we're still using those individual container, the set, whatever you call them, the mega church containers that they would have used. But no, we use those. And what we do is after we take up the Lord's Supper, we have somebody that goes around with a trash bag in between, because he can pass every other row. He can pass. Right. So he just goes around, he holds it, and you just toss your elements in there, or we recently phased those out, and the announcement was kind of funny because the elders the one elder doing announcements got up. It's like, we're not going to be putting out the self-contained ones next week because they're going to expire. So if you want to grab them today, that's your choice, but we will not be having them in the lobby. Because we have a few members that would prefer to keep those, but I think they've gotten accustomed to what we're doing now. They've accepted, Now, crazy idea, Tom. How big is the Spanish work? It is. It's about our size, maybe. We've thought if you're talking about merging, that's been it's. There's reasons we like it the way it is. Yeah, and it's it's hard. But that's been a discussion. Those kind of. There are several congregations down here that are bilingual,